All right, guys, and just a reminder, please download the recordings as soon as they appear because they have due dates, cancellation dates set, and then I've got to remake them available, and it's quite a painful process to do that. So in terms of analyzing the macro environment, in the previous lecture, we obviously looked at the different variables and literally what we can only define now as the insanity of the external environment. In order for a business to make sense of that, in order for a business to take that information, the data that they collect from there, turn it into information and turn it into competitive intelligence, there's certain things that are available. And these kinds of best practices have been around for a while now, yet organizations don't use them. Now, the reality of the external environment, the first one is changeability. I think no one can actually predict the degree that the degree to which the environment will change in the future. I think just with Russia invading the Ukraine, with COVID a couple of years ago, and the new variants of COVID, and now I believe wave 5 being on its way as well, it is so difficult to know what the actual right options are for an organization to follow. So what tends to happen is we are constantly reacting, we are constantly repurposing, we are constantly rethinking. So from a changeability perspective, there are a couple of things that we need to remember. From a complexity perspective, these would be the number of variables that are impacted by a single change. So the one thing we know about the external environment is that it is incredibly interrelated. I mean, one of my favorite examples, and it's a slightly old example, but it always illustrates for me how difficult it is to know where changes will happen in the environment and also what the knock-on effect of those changes are. I talk about, and I'm going to use it, one of my favorite stories ever, and it was around 2010. And essentially, in Iceland, a volcano exploded. That volcano sent ash clouds to settle over Europe, and in particular the UK. And because ash clouds had settled over Europe, we couldn't get our export fruit and flowers through to the UK. And as a consequence of that mountain exploding over there, fruit and flower packers in Cape Town were getting retrenched. Now imagine if you are at the level of a fruit and flower packer and you're told that you're being retrenched, essentially because a mountain exploded in a country a couple of 1,000 miles away. The knock-on effect of changes and the complexities of the environment are so difficult to understand that even at an executive level, these kinds of things don't make any sense. I don't know if anyone has a comment about that, how a mountain exploding in one country a couple of 1,000 miles away causes people in it's crazy, but causes people in Cape Town to be retrenched. So the complexity of the environment and the knock-on effect of the environment makes it incredibly difficult to predict the next change. We know all of a sudden that there is this big demand for coal from South Africa. So in Richards Bay, you've just got truckloads and truckloads and truckloads being sent to the port to get it across to Europe, who can't now rely on Russia, who can't rely on Russia for oil and gas in order to keep their energy sectors going. So that war in the Ukraine has created an opportunity for coal exporters in South Africa. Now, obviously, there are issues in terms of us, and this is the crazy part of this. This is the crazy part of it. Sorry, I just want to answer the student. So a war in the Ukraine creates opportunities for us to export coal. I mean, there's something wrong with that, but I suppose you go where the opportunities are. So the first one is the complexability. And for me, the complexability are the numbers of interrelated factors that essentially are impacted by a single change. And then the second one is novelty. There's so many new challenges. There's so many new challenges. So the reality is there's so many new challenges and they are so unique that even organizations with the best strategic plans, with the best crisis management plans, are never really ready for some of the things that the environment is going to throw at them. And it really is just is this insanity of the environment that we have to deal with. My favorite is this one. A mountain explodes in Iceland and fruit and flower packers in Cape Town get retrenched. It is so complex. It is so novel. It is so unique. And the reality is every situation creates something brand new for an organization. So even with the best strategic plans, we never ready for it. Even with the best crisis plans, we are never ready for this. And we can never, ever put all the elements in place to effectively deal with these changes. The second one is predictability. I think it is so difficult to predict what will happen next month, let alone next year, and as we used to do in the past, make predictions about 5 years into the future. It's not possible anymore. We sit in a situation where the uniqueness and the novelty of these variables that change all the time essentially make the environment incredibly unpredictable. So the idea of having a vision is still important. So the reality is it's so difficult to see in the future that yes, you have a vision, but you have to realize that within that vision, there are lots of variables that will change and that you will have to make a lot of sort of reactive plans. Please have a look at 161 and 1625.2. Can I please ask that somebody can take a picture of those and put it on the group for people who didn't buy the textbook? That would be absolutely fantastic.